Hey there, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. All right. I know I said I was going to upload a video a day, but if you're following my consciousness, you must know that I am thoroughly rooted in divine time. Okay. It doesn't matter what I've said or what I'm going to be said or what I'm going to be saying. Okay. Whatever is in the present is going to take dominance. Okay. And then plus two, you want when I actually give you the videos, it's actually in divine timing as well as there's something to be said. Okay, you don't just come on here just to glorify yourself or look cute. All right, so let's get into the reading. We're not using cards though. This is just going to be straight downloads from the dome. Okay, so I wrote down some stuff between yesterday and today, and so I want to touch on certain things here right now. Okay, so in the previous video that I posted 2 days ago, okay, I can't remember what it was titled. I think it was about like heart chakra, living in your heart. I did give some advice about the divine feminine and how your worth is in your egg, right? Now, that advice is still solid, it's still valid. Okay, I do also want to make sure that I am delivering the message that if you're no longer if you reach a certain age and you're hitting menopause, it doesn't mean that you're of no value, right? You are divinely created. All right. Now, this is where we are getting into the concept of once a man, twice a child. Okay. Once a woman, twice a baby, or whatever the case you want to call it. Okay. You still have a duty in order to, replenish oneself and replenish those coming up behind. This is what the whole video was really about. It's just that as a woman, as we're walking in our womanhood, we realize that there's things that we may have lost along our way of maturity. And so we go back, we double back, okay, we retrieve them, and then we also create a way, an avenue for those that are coming up behind us so that they can have the wisdom as they're going forth so they can create better civilizations based off of the women. Okay? The woman in your society is a direct reflection of how your civilization is going to either prosper or descend. Okay, their mentality, their health, the way that they think, the way that they are treating their bodies, how they're treating their hearts. Okay, it directly correlates with what the children of that society are going to be. Okay, so I did not want to say, and I'm also not going to be doing these disclaimer videos. If something comes up that I am saying, there's a particular person that needs to hear it. It may not be you. It may not be you. Any reading, unless me and you have a contractual agreement in which I'm providing a reading particularly for you, please understand that on this platform, I'm just sharing consciousness. All right, which is vast. It's vast. It's connected to many. And you may not be in alignment with the consciousness that I'm sharing for someone else in some other reality, another space and time. Okay. But I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't like, it's not a battle. It's not a competition. Okay. Please get this badge in your life. Okay. Get this badge. All right. It's going to help with the understanding. Okay. It's not a competition, nor is that was the whole thing about the video. It's not a competing energy between old and new. It's not a competing energy between this feminine from this cultural background and this feminine from this cultural background. The idea is that God is a consciousness of oneness. Everything plays in divine alignment. You're co-creating your reality with God. This is why, as a woman especially, you cannot afford to outsource that power. You cannot afford it. Look around you. If you're in a certain paradigm of reality and you're not satisfied with it, it's because something is not right with either the way you are thinking, what actions are actually being manifested in your life. You must be able to recognize these things and internalize that power so that when you are now projecting a new reality in your external, that it is of alignment with your best possible self, your best possible reality, because that your healthiness, the way that you think, the way that you process information is going to be a direct correlation between you and your environment. Okay. If there's a resonance mismatch, the universe, God, creator of all things, whatever you want to call it, God consciousness will move you from that situation and place you in another one. Okay. But everything happens for a reason and nothing happens before its time. Shout out to the ancestors. So where you are once in one alignment with a situation, a place, things change. You grow, you ascend in consciousness, you gain new skills, right? You don't just stay one level all your life. Once you're outgrown a certain level, you move into another space and time. Another space, literal space and time. That's why nothing really repeats itself. It's only cyclic because the changes it may look a little different. Okay. There's going to be some kind of change. It's not going to be exactly the same. I need to take a pause. All right. Now, I wanted to also I want to stress a point because I think I mentioned it about femininity and living in the head. Okay. Woman is complete in both masculine and feminine energies. Men also have masculine and feminine energies. They have an X and they have a Y, right? But they come from a woman. You understand what I'm saying? Okay. So they could only be as masculine as the energies that were inputted. Okay. I don't really want to get into that right now. What I want to get back to what I'm talking about is living in the heart space. Okay. Your mind is masculine just by default. Just by default. This is why people before us, they will say, oh, men are usually the ones, they're the thinkers of society. They're the ones who have this kind of energy just kind of innately. Okay, innately. That's their strong point. I'm not saying that women are stupid. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that naturally, in their natural environment, they are the thinkers. They will think and try to create solutions to problems, and they are here to help women. They are here. They're guardians as well. Okay. Um, Now, the heart is a very feminine energy. Okay, this is why a great thing for every human, regardless of their sex, is to be able to unlock their heart space, which is feminine in quality, X in quality. Okay, so men may be able to conquer thinking in the mind, and women can, again, their masculine energy can conquer thinking in the mind. There's no limitations here. But what is key for femininity is being able to live in the heart space. And those of us who are actual women, we tend, okay, to want to live in the heart space just naturally. Things come to us. The heart space attracts. This is why it's important to heal your heart chakra. Heal yourself from whatever things that were troubling your heart as a child. This is what inner child healing is important. This is important to create imaginative power, which is required for creating and shaping your reality. Living too much in your head is literally a direct mix match. Okay, your heart's gonna be like, what's going on? Why isn't my heart involved? Okay, as soon as you start sacrificing your heart, you start automatically living in your head, and that is exhausting and very unnatural. I'm not saying that you cannot be wise. Okay, please do not think these two things are in competitive energy with one another. Everything works conjointly. However, as a woman, your power is to live in your heart. Okay? Whereas someone who does not activate their heart chakra, whether it be a man or a woman, if they're only living in their head and then going back into their bodies, their guts, right? Their lower level natures, it's just straight ego at that point. Either fight, flight, or freeze. Okay? So just have that understanding. If you decide to bypass your heart in this life, you're missing out on the wonders of life. Okay? Okay, now this is why you would see that it doesn't matter how much you conceptualize or find logical understanding in something. If your heart is not clean, you're just going to create the same scenario over again in a slightly different form. Okay, this is what we call by karmic burdens. Okay, this is why the teachings of the elders and those who have come before, shout out, I feel you when I hear you, I feel you. Okay, is to clean up your heart. Your heart is key. It's key to your reality. Okay, it is what it's what the point of attraction is. Okay, so you might be thinking, yeah, well, I know I can conceptual understand this level of consciousness. I understand it, but it's not practical because I have not actually brought it down from my intellectual space into my heart space, right? And then in turn, it will go down into the lower level nature so you can ground it into your reality. Okay, your heart is key. So anything that you have not healed from will just repeat itself again, and different spirits will come. I'm fragmented. You are also fragmented. Let's get it together and possibly try to learn through this experience. But the whole point is you're supposed to learn. You're supposed to be learning, gaining wisdom, pass down your wisdom. This is why the elders are important. I know a lot of this rebellious spirit, like, we don't need to listen to our elders. I could just live life and do all this stuff over and over until I get it right. Yes. Well, why? There's already thousands of people who have come before you. There's nothing new under the sun. Okay, so align yourself with good-hearted elders who are able to help you. Okay, and also you guys will be teaching each other. Not every elder has walked through every single experience, but they can only give you the advice from the things that they have actually experienced. Okay, or might give you a tip to link you to a higher level consciousness that can help you through your particular situation. This is not a battle. It's not a battle between old versus young. We are one. We are one people. Okay, all right, and in that unity there is strength. Tap into the Akashic records of the melanated being. The oldest people in the world. Okay, is of value. All right, now what they have left behind for us is states of consciousness. That's going to get into this whole conversation right now. Battle of the consciousness. That's what's going on. When we talk about higher level frequencies, lower level frequencies, if you shout out, if you see this lesson and other videos that I have posted, right? There's angel level frequencies. We're talking about higher level consciousness, those that are not soiled by the ego. They're not soiled by the lower level natures of man. What does that look like? What are the lower level natures of man? Lust, greed, overconsumption is greed. Okay, anger, deceit, right? Everything that has a lack frequency, right? Right? Everything before you gain to the Christ consciousness, meaning that you're not separate from anyone. You're not better than anybody. You cannot throw stones if you don't have sin. That whole energy of the consciousness of Christ. All right. If anything lower than that can be compromised and sink your consciousness down. And then you're going to go through what the dark night of the soul. It's a process. It's a process until you actually learn and solidify your consciousness in a, let's say, esoteric realm. Okay. Once you gain that weight, you can move around like, yeah, I've seen this before. I know this frequency and I'm higher than this. Mogaju Ayelo. I'm higher than this. I'm taller than this nonsense. Once you're able to recognize that, you're able to ascend. All right? And your actions speak louder than your words. Because they're going to come by. I'm telling you. You're going to be sitting around and be like, hold up, what is this frequency? If you're really in tune, right? There's a frequency that's testing me right now. What do you want? You listen. And then you could find the deception in it. All right. This is the difference between the Decepticons and the Transformers. Those of us who can't transform, all right, meaning we can move to a higher state of consciousness, because what the hell is this? This is not bringing peace. Expensive. It's very expensive. Okay. All right. Peace through Christ consciousness. All right. What else I got here? All right. So lower consciousness disguising itself as higher level consciousness, doing lower level nature bidding in the name of God. You see this often. Okay. There's a lower level frequency that is, I guess, hijacking a higher level consciousness, but there's always going to be a thin layer of deception, a thin layer of deception. This is very tricky. Okay, when we talk about this energy that is against, right? I know when we talk, I think I was listening to the story of Job on my YouTube. So, not opening the Bible and reading it. So, please take it with a grain of salt because I'm fully aware that a lot of these stories have been compromised depending on which eyes are filtering it. Okay, because even when I was listening to the YouTube, I was like, I don't think I read this part in I did not perceive this part. This is someone adding their own little sauce in it. Okay. But in the story of Job, they're talking about, again, the Bible illustrates different levels of consciousness. The consciousness of Satan is the opposer, okay, which is necessary. Contrast is necessary in order to see where you actually land in consciousness, but we're not going to digress. So God, he brings all the angels, which is all the frequencies, high, low, it doesn't matter. They're all one. They're all one before God, they're all children of God. They're all consciousness that come from the oneness of the source. Okay, Satan is the demonized one because he's always the opposer. Think about that guy in your class that's always like, but what about this? And everyone's like, why aren't you uniting with us? Why you always got to be the one extra? You know what I'm saying? Which is crazy because he was like a high ranking angel, right? Which means that he has higher level perspectives. All right. But to keep things true, he's like your eldest son or your eldest sibling, okay, who is just like the right hand of God, your creators, right? And your creators. And he's just like, look at these younger kids. They just doing this because of that. They just doing that. They're always the pessimistic ones. And you look up to them sometimes and you're like, man, you're so great. I want to be just like you, you know, but then you realize that they don't really like you. Because now you're the youngest and it's like that kind of, and just how I read it, that's how I see it. Anywho, so Satan comes, right, and he tries to deceive the younger ones, right, and so that he can be right in the eyes of God. The opposer. One of the God's children always has teenage angst, okay, but still a child of God. All right. But he can't corrupt all the souls, like I say. So he can't corrupt all the consciousness, like Jesus Christ consciousness, who's very meek, very mild, very understanding, humble, able to be learned. That consciousness cannot be touched by the deception of Satan. It can't be opposed because it's so complete in its own. That's why as you gain insights, you want to get to a Christ level consciousness. Okay, that is like the true area where you're kind of stopped from getting into the realms of the deception and where Satan has dominion, because Satan has dominion on the earth, right? So that is the concept. Instead of making this into physical things, you need to understand these are consciousness that dwell in anyone. You could literally be talking to somebody one day, then all of a sudden their consciousness switches over to the Decepticon. Satan consciousness can inhabit any vessel. So you need to pray for the eyes to see and the ears to hear. And don't compromise your own consciousness that you actually dip low, because you need to stay firm in the truth of God. Okay, and I don't care what religion that you practice that gets you to get to this understanding, practice it and understand that you must ascend from that. Okay, because there's certain level of consciousness that try to be God. That is the whole point also of this idea of the deceiver. So once you attain certain levels of consciousness and they get into your vessel, right? They can be animated through your physical vessel. It's almost as if they decide now, they're like, well, it feels good to be here. Let's go hang out with our brother, the opposer, right? Let's give in to temptation because we haven't been embodied in a while. And there's a reason why they haven't been embodied in a while. Okay? So it's not about not having fun. You can still have fun, but what does that fun look like to you? What are you compromising? Don't make sure that you're firm in your consciousness. Make sure you're firm in your higher level consciousness. This is where you could partake in things and not be shifted into another reality by the will of maybe a Decepticon who's in your midst. Okay. That's why even Judas, when Jesus had his court, right? When he was going through his ascension of consciousness, understanding through the world, right? To see things with the fresh eyes of God, or to be a fresh eyes of the child of God. He was able to have his own circle of people, and even in his own circle of consciousness, there was a Decepticon, Judas. But he already knew it was coming because he watched his God, he watched God. He watched God. If God had his own level of consciousness and Satan was in it, one who wanted to overtake and be like God, but cannot be God because he's a fragment of the God consciousness and did not know the place, his place. I want to be like you. And so the only way I could be like you is to play God to the younger ones who don't have the eyes to see it. Okay? So there's those, like I said, that can be incepted by lower level consciousness. You need to be grounded and firm in your own, I'm going to say righteousness, but righteousness is for fools, right? This is why humility is probably the best way that you can combat this kind of nonsense, because humility gives way to learning. Okay. There, and like I said, don't get too caught up in the levels of temptation, because that is how easy it is for the lower level frequencies to attach themselves to your field, okay, and your thought field. Because when you go to sleep, that's when everything is just like so swirling around your auric field, and when your spirit leaves your body and you go into astral projection, it hits all these different thought forms that's attached to this field. This is why staying highly vibrational stops lower level consciousness from actually manifested into your heart space, preventing your reality from changing. Okay. Now, I know I was just talking about Christ consciousness and all this stuff. It's because you also need to understand that you can't kill consciousness. They just exist. So you can never, what's the word? I guess when you say you're praying the devil away, what you're trying to say is I'm trying to affirm myself in a higher level consciousness. This way, when the deception comes, I'm able to recognize it and then rebuke it. Get it away from my consciousness, because I want to make sure my consciousness is pure for the reality that I am creating. I'm creating a high vibrational reality. Okay? So when I think about the story of Christ and, the killing and the cross and the rising again in 3 days, is because you can't kill consciousness. It exists. This is why a lot of people, even though they understand that their flesh is going to die, is what they're going to leave behind is their consciousness. It already exists. It's already been reached. Okay, but as civilizations grow, there's always a point of fall, right? And in that, right, things are buried and have to be rediscovered. Okay, same thing with yourself. Like I was saying yesterday or the day before, is that when you go through the stage of life, you're growing and growing, and then there's a fall, there's a dip. You may actually forget certain things that you actually used to know, right? It's the remembering. Okay, this is the different stages of your life, because as within, so without. This is just all mimicking a certain pattern in society, in life. Okay, so it's your job to go ahead and remember certain things that was already there in the level of consciousness. You have to do the personal work, inner work, to now reflect the outer work of you actually reaching those levels of consciousness. Okay. All right, what did I write here? Killing the body of Christ. Yes. So people think everything is physical. It's not really about, you can't kill consciousness. That's why Christ was able to rise again. Because as long as you know the codes to how to get to a higher level of consciousness, you won't be able to forget it if you're repeating it over and over. This is where the affirmations and the meditations come in to fact, feed yourself good consciousness to combat the lower level natures of man and or Satan, the opposer. Okay. So I did write taking credit for consciousness that already existed. This is part of that whole idea, right? The ego of man trying to be God. Consciousness already exists. Now, whether or not, depending on your life's journey, whenever you meet a certain level of consciousness, you get a vibration. You get like this. Oh, I feel like I just discovered something so important to my life. And your cells, on a cellular level, your body will react to it. You know, when someone says a certain vibration of sound to you, and then your body is like, this sounds, I'm remembering something. You know, you're like that. You remember something. Or if you read something and it's like, this was important for me to remember. You understand? You cannot take credit for this. It already exists. This is when your ego starts coming in like, I am all and powerful. You become an egomaniac. Humility is important for learning. Because once you reach a certain level of consciousness and you try to pretend to be God, like I said, you then turn into Satan frequency. Lower level frequency, you become inverted and you start going the other way. So if you can humble oneself as you're ascending in consciousness, it'll be great. Because the higher you go, the more it I guess is more tempting, I guess, for you to try to embody this kind of godlike mentality. And it's not even really that, because God is very humble. It's a consciousness of the many. It's a consciousness of the all. It's a consciousness that we all share and you're able to tap in source. Okay? It's just that I am now a reflection of God, but I cannot be God in your life because you are now a reflection of God. Now together, whatever it is we're creating as a whole, that is the entity of God. Okay? And we're all part of it. But to say that I'm coming here and to pretend to be God in your life, that is blaspheme. I could only share my consciousness that I have downloaded that was already existed. And it has been reaffirmed based on my bloodline, based off my experiences, based off which higher level spirits have already taken charge of me. They're like, that one is mine. I'm like, I remember you. And they're like, yes, we know. Before you were born, this was already planned. Thank you for the confirmation. It was just for me to choose. It's just for you to choose which reality you want to embody. There's many different versions of you on many different timelines. Okay, call to them. Like, hey, if all of you guys can channel yourself to this possible timeline, I'll meet you there. And then you'll feel the vibration when you're actually locked into that. Okay? Humility understands you are a receiver, not the actual creator. Okay? So, yes, you are co-creating with God because it's a conversation. Just like when you speak to your cells, right? On a cellular level, your cells are very alive. Each one of them have their own magnetism. Each one of them have their own life force energy. So sometimes I'd be like, hey, cells, this is a meditation, by the way, right? And you pay attention to your body, your internals. What does this person need? What does this cell need? What does this system need? There's power in your presence. You don't have to be to the point of damage in order to connect with your body. This is a relationship. Your spirit is housed, that you're literally a vessel for God, right? So in your vessel, you say, what is it that you need? When you go into the grocery store, you could be talking to yourselves and be like, cells, I need y'all to direct me to the things that you actually need. Okay. And then your inner child might be like, go grab those cookies, go get that cake. And then you'd be like, all right, let me listen to what God wants. Inner child says they want this. And they're like, all right, just give them a little bit of chocolate, but we're going to balance it out with, actually, cocoa is really good for you. If it's not, by sugar. So if he's like, yeah, we give them cocoa, we give them some chocolate, but make sure that it doesn't have X amount of sugar in it. It's a balance. That's all I'm trying to say, right? It's a divine masculine, divine feminine, and the child. The Holy Trinity is within, and it will also be without. Please, God. Good, perfect. It's on. Bro, you know how much times I made videos and the light is like, my mic is off? It is, I just pack up for the rest of the day. I'm like, nah, I've been talking for like 45 minutes. It just wasn't meant to hear. Nobody was meant to hear this. All right. Let me take a pause. All right. So I did hear during my meditation yesterday, how do you know when your creation is done? Okay. And the answer came so swiftly. It's like when you are satisfied with the outcome. Look around. Are you satisfied with the life you're living? Okay. If you're not satisfied, then you're not done. Okay. You ever tried to paint something? Huh? You ever try to paint something? You ever try to sit down and you start painting and you're like, oh, this is ugly. I don't want this. All right. You know what you can do? You can sit and maybe revisit it again another day And then if you're just patient, nisuru, if you're just patient, you will be able to create something from what you already have. Okay? You will be able to create something you actually do like from what the things you already have. That's not different from life. Off the canvas into your reality. Off the cards into your reality. Okay? You just have to be patient. Realize the things that you're just like, do I like this? And be honest. Because only truth can free you. Otito, leo minira. I know that's wrong. Okay? But I'm still learning. Moinko eko. Moinko eko. I am still learning. I tried. You have to have confidence. Anywho, so yes, you will know when you're done creating and co-creating with God, right? When the things that you're receiving, you're like, I like this. Okay, I like this. I wanted some more of this. I don't want some more of this. This, I don't want this no more. I want this. Yes. Okay, that is part of the creation. So that one day you wake up and you're like, aha, everything that I desire, everything I wanted to create, I like this. I like this life that I'm creating with you. That's God. Okay? All right, so this is no shade because I actually do enjoy this level of consciousness. I do listen to Neuro Knowledge. Okay, you gotta go on his page. Yes, he's fun guy. Anyhow, but also besides that, okay, he has achieved certain levels of consciousness because he reads. Okay, reading is very fundamental. Please, if you can read, because a lot of people cannot read, you need to be able to appreciate that gift that was given to you. Okay, and utilize it as much as you can. Okay, I know it's easier to observe, intake information through video and stuff, but what you are losing is the power of your own imaginative brain and hearing things in your own voice. Okay, because consciousness is just there. When you internalize it, it becomes a voice of reason. And after you move the different consciousness, because not every thought form is meant for you. Not every thought form can inhabit your vessel, right? There's just certain levels of consciousness when you hear in your own voice, you can actually embody. All right. So he has read, he tells us all the time, he's read a bunch of books, like over 400 books. I've been doing this. This is perfect. Good job. All right. He actually has some really good stuff that, once you read, if you read on his page to his actual, he has a blog, okay, which I've also read. Okay, because you can start reading things and you hear it in his voice because you know what his voice actually sounds like. You hear it, you can see the authenticity of his journey, which is beautiful. The only thing is, like anything, you cannot become someone else, right? So there's also going to be pitfalls. This is why we move as a unit. Some people are going to have the cinnamon, some people are going to have the salt, some people are going to have, the whole point I'm trying to make is some people bring different ingredients to the table to shape the consciousness of whomever you are. Okay? Until you rest in peace. Permanently in this realm, not like just sleeping. Okay? Now, why did I bring him up? He has some good stuff, but he said something that was a little, I understand what he's saying. And he says that, you want to make sure you don't care about, I got to get the actual quote, but what I read was him saying, he had a post the other day that said something about you get your reality when you don't care about your reality. Now, as a feminine, I'm going to say, I don't think, maybe this is masculine advice. I don't know. I'm just talking about what has been working for me. Okay. When I show that I love something, I get more of that thing. The more I think good thoughts, the more good things come to me. And it's not just thinking it. It's like a vibration that my heart is attached to. That's like, yes, I like this. And then God's like, I bet. Nisuru. And don't even worry about it. And I don't know if I think that's what he means, is that you don't worry about it. It's not something you're not like in a frequency of desperation that you need it. You understand? Because there's these little gateways that the universe, God, is like, I know you're going to like this. You like this? And might give you a little teaser. And then just to see what your heart does. Just to see, does it speed up a little, like, oh, yeah, I like that. You know what I'm saying? And then that is what, it's like, I bet. Chill. I was just giving you a preview. You know what I'm saying? Because your heart frequency can't lie. It does not lie. If you don't like something, God knows. You ever try to deceive your mother? You ever try to be like, Mom, I'm okay, and all she gotta do is watch you in your eyes. So something's wrong with this one. Like, no, you get upset sometimes because you don't want, you don't want to be so transparent. But your creator knows you. Okay, she knows you before you know yourself. Okay, so just a relatable story. Okay, but as a feminine, it's not that we don't care. It's not, you don't want to act like nothing impresses you. That really low key sounds retarded. Oh my God. Could you imagine if someone, like, I don't know, what is something that you really, really, really want? Okay, let's say for most people it is financial gain. Let's say you just won $20 million. Could you imagine trying to pretend like it's not a big deal? Could you imagine you're like, small fry? Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's that's not, I don't want to misconstrue his words, but what I read, this is how interpreted. So again, fall back on me humbly and with humility if it's wrong. Okay, you need the love vibration. Okay, when you receive something that you want, you vibrate. You can't hide vibration. You can't lie. Okay, so if you have a frequency of desperation, that's a frequency of like, you don't trust God. You don't trust your reality. You don't trust the things that's already been provided to you. And this is why gratitude is the best attitude in any situation. Let that be your foundation. You don't have to go down low, 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 low. Okay, you don't have to go down too low. Okay? Desperation sinks your reality. Innovation allows you to float, being creative. All right, that's why you're never really waiting. You're just being patient is different from waiting. Being patient is just like, yes, I'm allowing the universe to shift accordingly for my divine alignment. In the meantime, while I am being patient, I will then create something else that also could give me a good vibration that will satisfy me in my outcome, because it's about a journey of discovering what makes your heart feel good. All right. Now there's cheat codes. Like I said, some people, I keep seeing Seal. You know that guy? Baby, you remind me of a kiss from a rose on. That's that guy. I feel like that song was about cocaine. You know what I mean? So like, there is people who could only feel that heartbeat if they are doing narcotics. They can only feel that vibration if they are intoxicated. They can only feel that. You can feel this vibration when you work out. Okay, there's a lot of pain, I guess, pain and struggle to get there, right? At first, because your body is like developing the muscles to do so, right? But you get that euphoric feeling, right? Your heart starts beating fast. You ever start running and your heart's like boom, boom, boom. I'm here. I'm alive. I've been here from the beginning of time. When you were born, I was here. I was the first thing that was born in the mother's womb. Your heart. Okay. You ever get really excited and your heart's like beating out of your chest? Boom, boom, boom. You ever meet somebody and you like hug them and you're like, bong, bong, bong. Kind of like those cartoons back in the day, right? You can't fake vibration. Okay, love is a vibration that knocks down all barriers. It shakes off all residue and nonsense. Okay, it cannot be denied. Okay, it's desperation that allows our consciousness to sink. When you don't believe and you don't have the belief in God. If you don't have belief in God, you don't believe in yourself. You don't believe in the creation of yourself. You don't believe in the co-creation of your existence. That everything had to have been aligned just right just for you to be born. Okay, I need to talk about this, but I need to take a pause. All right, now I have to also say, in the last video I did talk about, the idea of those who parents were conceived them without activating their God gene. Okay. And then let's say that they separated and they never actually came back to have a solid foundation. And I call these the lost boys or the lost children, and how you kind of want, you don't have to remain lost. I'm just saying that your creators, those who have come together, decided not to stop. They didn't want to grow up. They didn't want to mature. They didn't want to ascend to a God level frequency because they couldn't get over immature squabbles, or they allowed their ego or lack of, it's Peter Pan energy. I just say that. They just got caught up in Peter Pan energy. They want to be young forever, even though they did they did God things, right? They did God level things. Sacral exchange for creation. God level energy. but they did not activate their God genes. Okay, so they reverted back, okay, to nonsense, okay, to childlike behaviors. All right. Do not take offense to what I'm saying. I seek truth in all things, and I try to work with what the truth is. It's not that I'm being heartless. Please don't say that, because I not even please don't say that. You can take whatever I say, how you go take it, to be quite honest. But I just want you to know that I'm not coming from a put down place or anything like that, right? So you just be able to hear from my heart, and you can seek truth in what I'm saying. If you feel offended, I don't know what else what to say. You don't have to listen. Okay, I genuinely don't have this kind of stuff in my heart for anybody. But what I want to say to you is it's not all for naught, because you have to remember that every single thing that has happened for divine purpose. At some point, we can no longer rely on the foundation of where we come from. I'm saying we for a reason. We cannot we cannot rely on the foundation in which we come from. We must ascend to a certain higher level of consciousness, because we have gained wings to fly. Okay, call it Red Bull if you'd like. Okay, we become eagles at some point. We ascend, we transform from lower level consciousness to higher level consciousness, and we choose to do better than those who have come before us. This is why we cannot stay in Peter Pan energy. Everything that they faced, you're gonna face. If it got them down, if it took them out of their race, or shifted them to a paradigm of purgatory, meaning a place of delay of manifestation, then you must look as the child coming up like, nah, I don't want to go there. I see what this has done to this particular energy, and I don't want to follow them down that route. So we still give respect to them, because they had to live for you to see. And it's not for judgment, as in mean like condemnation, because they're also underneath God. When they go to sleep, their consciousness, especially if you're melanated and have a consciousness, okay, it gonna trouble them, especially when fire burn. Aye. Burn them, burn them, burn them, burn them, burn them, burn them. If they don't change, we gonna do something about it. Or rearrange, we gonna do something about it. All right? Oh, wow. Okay? Don't worry about it. That's why you don't have to cantankorize your okay, the word is cantankerous. Okay, the dictionary is too far, but that's the word. But I know cantankerous is not really a word, I don't think. But the whole idea is that you put ill will into your heart. You have an ill temperament. Okay, you don't need to wish revenge on somebody. This is, again, it exists in the world. All right, and as my sun sign knows, we have to. That's one of our challenges we have to get over. Revenge. Because once we give it to the divine consciousness, there's nothing more that we have to do, nothing more we have to say. We don't have to insert ourselves in between God and her children. We don't have to. Lest we bear the burden of the consequence. Lest we bear the burden of the karma. Do you understand? That's different kind. It's a different playing field. All right? It's a different playing field. So as long as you roll in the mud with the pigs, you can't tell you the difference, right? If I get into a fight with a crackhead, you won't be able to tell who's the crackhead and who's not the crackhead. Pause the video. Bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. Just bring it back. I'm sorry. All right. Yes. Also, you need to know, if you're going to download my level of consciousness, you need to know I laugh a lot, because we are bigger than this. We are bigger than this. I'm just sharing with you the things that I've walked and I see. And now I'm coming on here to share what I've seen with you. That's it. Okay. So either way, let's say you have those who come before and they made a left turn and they decide to stay in that left turn, and you're supposed to be ascending. You're supposed to keep walking your journey. Huh? You give thanks because they have given you life. Aye, doom, 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 doom. Right? Thank you. But you cannot be their burden. It's not really a burden. They have their own things they have to sort out for their own soul journey, to make sure that they're able to get through the gate of Zion. All right? Consciousness of Zion. These are physical places, as within, so without. It could be a physical place, but they've been sidetracked. Okay? So for those of you whose parents did not activate the God gene, it does not stop you, because you're still connected to the all. You're still connected to the oneness of God. Okay? There's people who have literally lived on the street their entire life was able to ascend. I need you to know this in your heart. They had you probably had more than most, and I'm not saying this as any way to stop your healing journey, because you have to be able to flush out what things were not in alignment with God as a child. That the inner child healing work is important to what you're going to be, your imaginative power of what you can create. And the most powerful children have been put into a state of trauma in order to prevent them from creating a true reality of Zion. And I hope the gates open up even wider for you, my friend. We will be waiting. Okay, we all are waiting for you to ascend. Okay, so you just have to choose it. It's a choice. It's a choice. Just how your parents or your creators, or your portals here into this life have made certain decisions for themselves. It's now time for you to choose, and sometimes that comes in younger bodies. So my advice to you, because I've also seen, I know you can feel my energy because we are connected in this way. I've seen those children outgrow the generational curses of their bloodline and able to come back and help their parents reach a high level of consciousness. That is beautiful. Okay? We melanated beings do not leave our parents behind, but we do not force. Nisuru, we have patience. We have patience. Every generation dealt with their own particular warfare, their own particular spiritual and physical warfare. Okay? And so allow them grace, and this way we don't have to judge. We don't have to place that judgment. We don't have to, get that whole thing I was just saying about getting in the mud. We don't have to. We just have to have the eyes to see, to do better and want better for ourselves. Okay, let that energy overcome any nonsense that has polluted the bloodline. Ascend. Okay, activating your level God gene is very imperative for the collective. All right, we need you. We need you. We need you. We need you to be healthy. We need you to have a strong mind. We need you to have your nutrition. Put down the McDonald's. Put down the pizza. All right. Go get your ewa. Let's get some iresi, some rice and beans. Get your kalalu. We want you to have functioning brains. All right. So you could deal with whatever nonsense in your bloodline and ascend accordingly, so we could create a reality of heaven here on earth. Okay. While we still have time to. Okay. So if your parents didn't activate their God gene, it's not for naught. Your story is still being written. Okay. Make the most out of your life the best way that you can. Last thing I want to say, the things that you think that you don't have is most likely hiding in plain sight. Anything that you think that you do not have is most likely hiding in plain sight. You just probably don't see it. You don't see it yet. Okay? The grass will always be green where you water the ground. All right, that's it.